Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is The Opinionated Woman, and welcome to the best books of 2025 so far. Can you believe it is already time for this video? Like, I know everyone says that at this time of year, but geez, I feel like, because I've been having sleeping issues, so I feel like this year has just been like gone through in a haze of being absolutely knackered. But hopefully we'll be fixing that soon. Hopefully the next half of the year will be a little bit better when it comes to that. But I'm here with this video. These books are not in any particular order. They're in chronological order from when I read them. I don't have an absolute favorite so far. I think maybe the first book that I speak about is my absolute favorite book of the year so far. If I was to pick one. But other than that, they're not ranked or anything like that. These are just the best books that I've read in 2025 thus far. So the first book, and the book that I think is the best one that I've read so far this year, is The Immortals by S.E. Lister. This is a time travel novel where we're following our main character, Rosa, who travels through time. That she belongs to a time traveling family, but her family is stuck in this one year in 1945, I think. Yes, stuck in 1945, and she decides to break away from her family and starts to fall through time and exist, and has all these different existences throughout these different time periods, melding her way in or forcing herself to stick out in a very particular chosen way in order to survive in all of these different scenarios. It's so well written, it's really pacey, and you never know what's coming next. It's freaking excellent, and I highly recommend it. This came out in like 2015, and I don't think it's spoken about enough. It is just, oh, so good. Then I read Think Again by Jacqueline Wilson. I did a whole reading vlog about this, so I will put it down below if you haven't watched it yet. But Jacqueline Wilson in the 90s wrote a series called the Girls series, which is Girls in Love, Girls Out Late, Girls Under Pressure, and Girls in Tears. And now she, in 2023 or 2024, decided to write a adult follow-up following those characters from the Girls series in their 40s, and how their lives have been and how their relationships between each other have been. And it was just like, I lived on that Girls series. I listened to them on audiobook. I read them physically over and over and over again. So Ellie, Magda, and Nadine were like a part of my heart. So reading this, like at the end of that vlog, I absolutely burst into tears. We get to see a lot of characters from Ellie's past, as well as seeing like where her life came to, because in the original series we get to see a lot of like how she expected her life to go and what she foresaw for the future, and now we got to see what actually came about and what didn't, and the way things have changed over time. And I thought it was so perfectly done. I was so nervous about reading this, because what if she stuffed it? What if it was bad? It was great. And now there's one coming out for the Illustrated Mum, and I'm so excited about that. As soon as that comes out, we're doing a reading vlog for that one as well. The next one is A Thousand Eyes on You by Mia Arderne. If you watched my favorites of last year, her book Mermaid Fillet was on there, and Mia Arderne is like quickly becoming an absolute favorite. This is a YA of hers. It's very little, but we're following Kayla and Tyler. Kayla is from a very good family, but she's really suffering with depression and suicide ideation. And Tyler comes from a really tough background, and they're at school, but they're not really connected to one another. And then they come together, and they are connected through, how can I put it, some supernatural means. We delve into the folklore of mermaids, we delve into the folklore of fairies, and there's a coming together of these two communities. Oh, it's so hard to talk about this book without spoiling it. Like, I always like the way that they put it here, that it's an edgy urban fantasy that weaves indigenous mythology into romance that will leave you breathless. and it's left off, like it just ended. I was like, no, there has to be more, and there just wasn't. So it leaves you with this like longing. Oh, it was just so well executed. Her writing is so wonderful, and I got to hear her speak about it before I read it, and like at an author event, and it just gave me such an insight into how it is to adapt your writing from adult to YA. And I just loved the magical realism, like the urban fantasy side of it. It was delicious. Then I read The Twilight Garden by Sarah Nisha Adams, and this is one of those where I say that now I don't do specific pride reading, because I mean, out of these books that I've mentioned so far, like more than one of them are queer, and they're books that I pick up that I don't realize are going to be queer, and then they happen to be queer. So in this book, The Twilight Garden, we're following our main character, Winston. That's his name. Following the main character, Winston, who lives in this house with his boyfriend, and they're like kind of having a bit of a tenuous relationship. They're struggling to connect, and they share a garden with their next door neighbor, who Bernice, and they really don't get along. They're just like really aggravated. So there's not like much of a sense of community, and Winston is really feeling a little bit lost in his life. And then he starts getting these packets through the mail of all of these pictures and articles about the people who used to live in these two houses before, and the way that they had come together to create this community garden for the community in their street, and how they like melded their families together. And slowly but surely, because both of the neighbors are getting these things through their letterboxes, their relationship starts to mend, and they start to create this community for themselves. We also get to see parts of the story from Maya, the woman who used to live in Winston's house, from her point of view, so we can see the beginnings of the garden and how it came to be. And it's just a wonderful like hug of a novel. It's a beautiful friendship fiction, and it's so full of community and love. Sarah Nisha Adams, I've read 2 of hers so far, and this bitch, she knows how to write a good freaking book. The next one is The Disappearances by Emily Bain Murphy, and this is a book that has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I was buying some books, and I went back. The Immortals also came about because of this. I went to the end of my oldest added on my Storygraph TBR, and I found these books and I ordered them. And this has been sitting on my list for the longest time, and man, I wish I'd read this earlier, but I mean, at least I got to have read it now. So we're following our main character, whose name is Ayla, and her brother. Ayla's mother has died, and this is during the war, so her dad has been called up, and she is getting sent back to her mother's hometown called Sterling. And her and her brother are going to go stay with her mother's old school friend. And once they get to Sterling, they start to realize that town is not all that it seems. One thing that is happening is that every 7 years, the town loses something disappears. So the 1 year they lose their reflections, another year they lose scent, and like it starts to build up on top of each other. So everybody anticipates every 7 years something that's going to disappear from this town. And Ayla, like there are whisperings around the town that it has something to do with her mother. So Ayla sets about trying to figure out why this is happening and trying to solve the disappearances within Sterling. And it's so intriguing. Like the magical realism side is so beautiful. As you can tell, I love me some magical realism, and I just loved the way this all wrapped up. Then I read The Evil Eye by Etaf Rum, and I read this in a book in a vlog where I read Palestinian authors. I'll link that one down below as well. And this is a very quiet character study of a novel, but it really just stuck with me. And we're following our main character, Yara, who lives in Brooklyn. Her family are from Palestine. She used to visit Palestine a lot, and her teta, her grandmother, who lives in the West Bank, very often when she was a child. So she feels like this great pull towards Palestine, but at the same time, she was born in Brooklyn. But the way that the people in America see her is not as a true American, even though that was her birthplace. But the people in Palestine, because she wasn't born there, don't see her as a pure Palestinian. So she's very much in between these two cultures, and she has been trying to fight the like cultural norms and gender stereotypes, and trying to like find a place for herself when it comes to finding a career as well as being able to have a family. And she's really fighting to find a space that's just for her. And she has a husband who just doesn't listen to her emotionally, and she's got 2 children. And she has an altercation, a race-driven altercation with someone at her work, and she gets put on leave and she gets sent to a psychiatrist. And then she starts journaling, and she starts to unwrap all of the trauma of her life and the things that make her as a human being, and the things that have been pushed upon her, like have been made, like forced her to think that this is like her purpose. It's just a beautiful character study and a really wonderful look at someone who's between 2 cultures. And yeah, Etaf Rum, I need to pick up her other book, A Woman Is No Man, because her writing is gorgeous. I read Probably Nothing by Lauren Bravo, and this book is so freaking funny. Oh my god. So Bryony is our main character, and she has been going on a series of dates with this man called Ed. And she realizes, like, the last time she sees him, he kind of gives her the ick. They very much, like, had a very surface level relationship, mainly hooking up. And she comes to the realization, like, okay, this is not going to go any further after this date. So she goes home, no problem. Like, she thinks, like, okay, I'll message him and I'll end it. And then she gets a phone call. Ed is dead. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, and everything like that. And they're like, I know you must be suffering so much, and we want you to come to the funeral, and definitely you're going to be speaking at the funeral. And she's like a little bit put her back, she's like, how do you know about me? You know, because we were something so very casual. She doesn't say that to them, but it turns out that Ed, because his family is so desperate for him to have a loving relationship, Ed has been telling his family that they were in this deep committed relationship, this very serious relationship, and has been making up stories about them to his family. And because she's such a people pleaser, she just goes along with it. She ends up writing a goddamn poem for this guy who she was banging's funeral. And she has to just keep on like acting like she knows what these people are talking about. They're like, oh yes, cousin blah blah got his ear lobbed off by a cow, but you, of course, you know about that. And she's like, yeah, I totally know about that. And she gets herself embroiled in so many crazy things. I mean, she joins an MLM because she just wants to be kind to his sister. Like, it is so funny, but it's also really heartwarming, and it's about grief, but it's like kind of a dark comedy. And I just thought it was executed so well. Like, I've read one of these authors' books in the past and it was pretty good, but this book, oh my god, had me giggling, driving to and from work, like every single day. It was wonderful. Next one is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. And when I was reading this, I didn't think that I'd be including it in this, but I realized that this book made me feel something, and that something was like incredibly uncomfortable, and the way that it was done was so artful that it like kind of had to end up on this best of list. This is following Arderne, who's a photographer, and her main subject are taking like very sexually and exploitative pictures of very ugly or average looking men that she finds attractive in some strange way, that she like scouts in public. Like, she finds the one guy as a checkout man at Tesco's. And Arderne is doing drugs. She's very much in her addiction. She's very traumatized. She's not doing well mentally. We see her lose touch with reality multiple times. but this whole story is just following a couple of weeks where she's preparing to go to to take part in an exhibition. So she's going through her work from the past, and we get some stories from her past, and we can see how she came to make the work that she is making today, and how she came to the mental state that she's in at the moment. And the way it ends is very hectic. It's one of those books that makes you feel viscerally uncomfortable. There's some like really awkward scenes in it. There's some really disgusting scenes in it. If trigger warning for drug use, it is very, very intense in here. Like, I had to grin and bear it for a little bit because I am a recovering addict. So I did have to grin and bear it through one particular scene that was very intense. But Eliza Clark just like flushes out this really complicated character with such finesse. It's artful, and I really want to read Penance now. Then for another vlog that I will leave down below, reading women's memoirs, I read Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. Fern Brady is a comedian. She's from Scotland, and she is late diagnosed autistic, just like me. She is also queer, just like me, and she used to be a sex worker. She used to be a stripper. I used to do OnlyFans. So there's a lot of things that we have in common. So I was like, I definitely need to read this book. And this whole novel is her life based against the backdrop of being autistic and not being diagnosed and not having the support that she needs, and how she acts out like that. So like, I used to act out very verbally. I used to get very verbally mean when I was overstimulated, whereas she would get physically violent or like smoke. No, where she would go drink a lot, or she would take Xanax to try, or she would come home and just like smash up her furniture because she was so overstimulated and didn't know how to deal with her emotions. And it was just so freaking relatable. This whole book has her sense of humor to it. It follows her like kind of difficult home life. It follows her going to university in Edinburgh and trying to financially get through that, which is why she starts stripping. And it also talks about how she got into comedy, and finally the way that she got diagnosed with autism and started to finally understand the way she experiences life compared to the way like normal, typical, like neurotypical people experience life. And it was so freaking beautifully done. She did it so well. She had just the right amount of facts, just the right amount of personality in here, and humor, and it lived up to every little piece of hype. And then the last one is a book that I read for the queer book club that runs at the book lounge. If you are around Cape Town and you're interested in joining a queer book club, email the book lounge and ask them about it, because it's a really lovely time. So the first one that they chose was Orlando by Virginia Woolf. And I'd never read Orlando. I had nothing, like no reference as to what Orlando was about. So because in my head, I cast the characters in my head so that I can have like a movie going in behind my eyes while I'm reading. And I saw that the actor that plays Orlando is Tilda Swinton. I was like, wait a second, because at the beginning of this book, it's a classic. Orlando is growing up as a boy and then going into his teen years and then falling in love with a woman. And then one day he wakes up and it turns out he is a woman. So we get this like queer, gender bending, like transition from female to male, and a part of the story he's living as a man, part of the story he's living as a woman, and it is weird and twisty. And he also lives for extended periods of time, so he like lives over 300 years, and it's never really explained. This is a really short novel. It's never really partially explained. It's just the sort of crazy book that you just have to throw yourself into and just ignore the things that are not fully explained. It's weird and it's wonderful, and I cannot believe that it was written when it was written. So yeah, those are all of my favorite books that I've read so far in 2025. I think it's a good list. I wasn't actually sure because I've been so tired this whole time. I've been feeling like in a fug. So I was like, I don't know what books are going to be on this list at all. And then I went through my book and I was like, oh yeah, I've got a really good collection going here. So let me know if you've read any of these books down below and which are your favorite books that you read of 2025 in the comments. The links to buy my crochet products are down below, along with my TikTok and my Instagram and my Kofi link, which is a one-time tip jar if you ever want to support my channel. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll check you next time.